All right. Welcome everyone, and we start with a quick poll. How many of you can see the presentation and where did you hear about the webinar from? So we'll be doing a lot of poll questions in this webinar. So get acquainted with these questions and I'll request all of you to participate as much as you can. Glad all of you can see the presentation at least.
Yes, I think screen is stagnant.
Yeah, I'm just taking the poll. Let everyone answer the poll and then I'll stop the poll. We're also waiting for a few more people to join in. All right, it's good to see that all of you can see the presentation, which is good. And I see most of the people who are attending this webinar have heard about the webinar from LinkedIn, then from WhatsApp, and then email. So we'll be sharing the results of the webinar of the poll as well with every one of you. All right, guys. Once again, thanks for joining in. And let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Captain Gaurav Rana. And why I feel I could have been useful in this webinar and why I could guide support on maritime fraternity in choosing a new career, a transition is because I have myself transitioned into various roles a few times as well. So 13 years at sea, became a master, a couple of years in command, and then I went into ports and logistics consulting with BMT Consultants India. So I was a technical director over there for 4 years. I did that and kind of got bored and I thought I should do something else. And that's when I enrolled myself or I started to prepare myself for an MBA. So I gave my GMAT and I got into IIM Ahmedabad. I did a 1 year full-time MBA before going to IBM. And in IBM, I was there for about 4 years, wherein I was managing a couple of their accounts which IBM had. So IBM was is still managing JM Adani's account, which is IT support services, and I was part of the leadership team. And then I also supported IBM for JM Bakshi software development for JM Bakshi account. So that was my second transition, or essentially third transition. So from sailing to a ports and logistic consulting, from ports and logistic consulting to IBM, which was in technology, and the fourth transition was in entrepreneurship, wherein I started Sea and Beyond. I've been running it for 10 years, and it's a platform to support mariners take a well-informed decision. Right, that's my vision. At this time, let me take a quick poll in terms of what is your current rank. So a quick introduction, essentially, in a very, very objective manner of the audience. And we all will know at what level, at what position are we all sailing as. Joining me in this webinar is also Captain Vikram Aditya and Chief Engineer Anshul. So both have had a transition from sea to shore. Captain Vikram is in Zero North and he's leading the voyage routing team over there. He's studied, he's upskilled himself. He's gone to Netherlands to do a course. I also have Anshul, and Anshul is a chief engineer. He became a technical superintendent. He again did the same course which I did at IIM Ahmedabad, and now he's in a pharmaceutical company in a different role. So I would also want them to share their journey. Ask them why they did what they did. So So you'll know about the various journeys as well. Um, during the presentation, I will request all of you to keep your mics on mute. If you have any question, you can put it in the chat window, but I'll take the questions at the end only because we'll break the flow. But we will take all the questions. I will take it myself, or I'll ask Vikram or Anshul to answer those questions. So all right, I've got about 86% of you who have answered the poll, and let me share the results. So we've got about 43% of the people who are top four, 39% who are sailing at an operations level, 14% who are settled ashore already, and 4% as a TME or a cadet. So when I started these webinars, honestly, about 80% of the time, or 80% of the participants in such sessions would be top four, which is changing, and which is a reflection of essentially the kind of opportunities we have, the kind of thought process, mindset that people have. I first thought of transition when I got my master's COC, and I think that was wrong. It's a whole lot of planning which should be done, and I'm glad to see that most of us are now planning this transition much ahead in time as well. So thank you for that. Agenda for the webinar. So these are the 5 points which you are going to cover. Is shore job for you? When is the right time to transition? Do I wait to become a master or a chief engineer? Once I decide to take a shore job, which is the field for me, and how do I plan the transition? Right. And of course, the skill enhancement and the way forward. One more poll comes our way at this point of time, and this is the current status, right? So what is your current mindset to all the participants? How many of you have thought of transitioning ashore? Are you just thinking about it? You have thought about it, you have discussed with your family, with your friends. You have thought and tried also, but without any success. And you've never thought about transitioning. You just want to sail, but you're attending the webinar because in the future, you just want to explore essentially. So where do you guys stand? We'll wait for another 15-20 seconds to take an answer of this poll. There are no right and wrong answers in the poll. Just whatever you think, please fill that. All right. Got a good 85% participation and sharing results. So majority of the participants have thought and discussed about the transitioning ashore. 23% have tried without success, 24% are thinking, and 6% have never thought and just want to sail. Fair enough. And so just that's the mindset with which the participants over here are attending the webinar. All right, a quick intro about Sea and Beyond. I started Sea and Beyond 10 years back. The goal when I started, the mission which I started Sea and Beyond was, and still is, help people from the shipping fraternity to take a well-informed decision. The well-informed decision could be in terms of how do I choose the career? When do I choose a particular kind of career? How do I upskill? Which kind of shore jobs do I take? And so on and so forth. So anything and everything which you are thinking about. So it could be a COC, where do I go for a COC? How do I go about a particular COC? How do I transition from oil to gas, from LPG to LNG? All those kind of questions is what we want to answer through Sea and Beyond. And our vision is to become a one-stop solution for most of the needs of the mariners, of the maritime industry, essentially. So that's the vision which I started Sea and Beyond with, and it's been 10 years. We're doing fine. I think we're doing fairly okay. I'm happy with the way we are going. Let's just quickly take one more poll over here. Now, what is the main reason for you to think of transitioning ashore? We've put in 4 reasons over here, and at this point of time, I'll probably ask Captain Vikram Aditya as well, and then Anshul. In terms of what was your reason, Captain Vikram, for transitioning ashore, right? If you could also give a quick introduction about yourselves and then your reason for transitioning.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Captain Gaurav. Well, it's good to be on the other side of this webinar because, like Captain Gaurav, hi all. First of all, good afternoon. My name is Captain Vikram Aditya. You can call me Vikram. So, like I said, it is good to be on the other side. And like Captain Gaurav just mentioned, right, he started Sea and Beyond almost around 10 years ago. And I think I have been associated with him almost from his first webinar. And I was also on the other side, like, oh, now, I'm on senior sailing rank and I would want to try something ashore. And I was also looking for things like this. Yeah, so to cut short the things, right, I've been sailing. So I was sailing with MESC, and the first shore job I got was when I was a chief mate. That time, I'll be very honest, I didn't have to try very hard because it was an in-house MESC kind of a job, and which when I was sailing on board, there was a job posting. I just applied for it, got through, and I started working. Well, after working there for a year or so, I was still a chief mate with a master COC. I did not had my command, and then luck had it that due to some organizational restructure, we were of course given an option: either we absorb you in some other department, or you can choose to go back sailing. So at that point of time, and I was working as a marine operations manager for MESC. So basically we were doing a voyage performance center. MESC opened initially, and I was a part of that. We were 12 mariners and I was one of them. But at that point of time, something hit me, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a good chance that I go back and get my command, because I was very close to getting my command. So I went back to sailing, got my command, did a few years in command, and then again I was on the same crossroad like I was earlier. Then okay, now what? I've got my command, I've sailed enough. Now what to do? And then I decided that I should actually, before, because I've already tasted working ashore, and maybe just to again put myself into a typical shore job which really doesn't need any upskilling, like it could be marine superintendent or some others. And I have full respect for all jobs, but I was like, okay, let me try something else. What can I do? Since I have been a container guy myself, I thought, why not to try something into logistics or something like this. So then I decided to upskill myself. I chose this maritime economics and logistics masters in Netherlands. I went there, did a full one-time, a 1 year full-time course there. Took my family also along with me. And as soon as I finished, then of course at that point of time, decarbonization and digitalization, these are the two, I think, ongoing things at that point of time. Now also they are. So at that point of time, I decided that why not to try this field, and then I joined Zero North. So this was the my journey, and then of course I joined Zero North as a initial in the team. Then and now right now I'm leading that same team which I was part of, which is the weather routing and voyage optimization in Zero North. So that is my journey. So basically what I did is, like Captain Gaurav has already mentioned in his slide, is right, why is very important. Why do you want to do it? Then when do you do it, and what do you want to do it, and how to do it? So I think all these steps which I had in my life or in my career, they all were kind of course some of things were not planned, but this is how I believe everybody should think if you are thinking of a transition ashore. Thank you, Captain Gaurav.
Thanks, Vikram. So we've got 90% of the candidates who've polled, and let me share the results over here. So 43% of the people over here who want to transition, the main reason is to learn and grow, right? 40% is family life. 10% is too much pressure while sailing, and 7% is just to try out something new. Now, in my view and with my experience, the right reason for you to say to transition and for you to be successful when you transition, right? In terms of relevance, the most apt answer, and I'm glad that most of the audience have this answer, is to learn and grow, right? It's extremely tough to transition to a job wherein you get 1/3 of the salary. You're not used to a certain kind of lifestyle, and to sustain yourself if you are not motivated to learn and to grow, right? Second most relevant answer is family life, because if you're looking at family life, um, it'll keep you motivated to stay in a shore job, but please remember, you will not be able to spend a lot of time with your family other than coming in the evening, night, spending that night with your family, right? Otherwise, the quality time that you spend while sailing, oh my God, you can never get that kind of time, honestly. Just to try out something new, I think that's probably the third most relevant of the answers. And too much pressure while sailing, believe me, the pressure on this side is equally more, if not more. It's a different kind of pressure, right? It's just that, I mean, the stakeholders are different. It's just that. But that's the reason. I mean, where do you stand in terms of your reason for transition? You have to evaluate that, right? Why did I leave, right? Again, 2 years in command, and I was feeling rudderless. I didn't know where to go, what else to do. I mean, how do I upskill myself while sailing? I couldn't have sailed for another 30 years doing the same thing, so I wanted to reinvent myself, right? I didn't know what I could do, because I became a master, and after that I didn't know what else to do, so I wanted to explore my potential, right? I had that belief in myself that I'll be able to hopefully transition into and successfully transition. Sometimes there is a fear in a person's mind that what will happen if I do this, and because of that fear of failure, people may not want to take steps. And honestly, that because of this third reason and the fourth reason, or then the fifth reason of taking a big risk, I have managed to transition 4 times in my career, right? From a sailing one to my first job to my second job, then to an entrepreneurship. So that's the reason why I kind of transition. So the important thing over here is, and honestly, like the way Vikram said, if the why, if the why is clear for you, right? It's clear and relevant, right? And why I say relevant, if you are transitioning with the whole and sole purpose of spending time with your family, it may not be the relevant answer. You will not be able to spend time with your family, honestly. So if the why is clear and relevant, the where and how becomes much more easier for us, right? Let me take one more poll over here, right? Evaluate yourself for transition. So do you have financial liabilities? Are you okay to relocate from the current city to a more maritime employable city? So which means either to Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, maybe to a certain extent Pune. So with these three questions which I have asked you, the first question in terms of what is your reason for transition, and do you have financial liabilities, and are you okay to relocate from your current city if you're not in one of the major maritime cities, maritime employable cities. It'll help you to understand whether you are fit. I mean, where do you stand in terms of transition? All right, last 5 seconds for this poll. I'm ending the poll and sharing results. All right. So in case you have financial liabilities, which are probably which will take maybe say about 30 to 40% of your salary, then you may not be at a right, it may not be a right time for you to transition, right? For those of the people who 45% of them who do not have financial liabilities, and 79% of you who are willing to relocate from your current city to a more maritime employable city, and to the guys who answered in the main reason for transition to upskill and learn and grow. I feel you guys are much more prepared for transitioning rather than the other guys, right? So the why for you is probably more clearer, right, than others. So that's what I would suggest, and I will stop sharing this poll and move on to the next one. The next poll is on where, right? And how many roles do you think a mariner could get when the person transitions ashore? So you think there are about 10 roles that you have when you're transitioning, about 20, about 30, and I'm only asking about maritime roles, right? In the maritime industry, broader maritime industry. I'm not asking about we could do anything and everything, but just disregard that. Mostly on the maritime side, how many kind of roles do we have? So a few more answers, please. The question is, do you know how many roles could a mariner, or how many choices does a mariner have when a person is looking to transition? And I've got about 81% of you have answered the poll, and I don't think I'm getting many more answers, but let me share the results. So 66% of us feel there are about only 10 roles where a mariner can get into. 23% of us feel about 20 roles, and 12% of us feel about 30 to 40 roles, right? So, and I think this is very important, and this is what C and Beyond wants to give back, right? The awareness level in terms of what we can do is very important, and how we can do is, of course, the next step. But let me share over here the roles which a mariner can do, right? So on our website, if you go on candbeyond.com, and I'm sharing that particular website, if you go on expert by categories, right? So we have listed out about 12 categories where a mariner could get into. So from a commercial shipping ops to ship management to agency to ports and pilotage to entrepreneurship to training and education to survey to maritime law to administration to classification survey and to marine tech, which is honestly the most upcoming field, and which a lot of mariners could look at. So these are the 12 categories, main categories where mariners could look at transitioning, and each category has subcategories, right? So for example, in ship management, you could get into any of these. You could get into training, operations, manning, vetting, OEM support, technical management, offshore support, safety and quality, right? And so if we total all of these put together, categories and subcategories, you'll find there'll be about 35 of them, and probably more, where a mariner could enter, right? So I'll request all of you to just probably go to this page, candbeyond.com experts, look at the categories where one could get into and the subcategories, right? So the first thing is we should be aware what is available to us. Where all could we get into, right? This is about the where of our transition. And as I shared results earlier, 8% of us, or maybe 12% of us, are actually aware of the number of fields, right? Leave alone what are these fields about. So first step over here, if you plan how to transition or why to transition, then next is where to transition. Have a look at this, please. I will just go to the previous slide, and there's another poll now, and this poll is, what rank is it best to leave sailing, right? And I think this is where a lot of confusion is there. Do you sail till the top? Do you leave it as a chief officer or a chief engineer or a second engineer? Can you leave it at a TME? So what, as per you, is probably the best time to leave sailing? And I've tried to decode that as well, and which will come in the next slide. This is the most evenly spread poll answer, I guess. All right, I'm ending the poll and sharing the results. Now, as per the audience, 40% any rank is fine. 30% feel at least top 4. 26% feel need to become a chief engineer or a master, and 5% have no clue, which is fair enough. Now, I'll probably try and answer this, and then I'll ask. I guess Anshul is also here now. Then I'll ask probably Anshul first, and then Captain Vikram, Aditya, to give their insights on this. So now, to me, honestly, there is any rank is okay for you to transition ashore. If the why for transition is clear to you, right? If the why is very, very clear, then where do you transition? There are certain roles on the right hand side which I believe it is better for a person to be at a management level to transition. So at least a top 4, and preferably a master or a chief engineer before you transition ashore. On the left hand side are all the roles where you could transition at any level, honestly, and honestly, in some of these roles, many companies are actually preferring people at a operations level to transition. So what are these roles? Within commercial shipping, you're a third engineer, you're a second officer, a lot of companies are willing to take you. Commercial could be into prefix, it could be into claims, it could be into operations, right? You need to understand where you want to get into. Marine tech roles, sales roles, manning to a certain extent, right? So it depends on what kind of manning you would like to do. Logistics, you can get it at any level. Entrepreneurship, of course, maritime law, purchase. So a lot of engineers who would want to transition ashore, you can get into the procurement side. Shipyards, insurance, you can transition at any point of time, and some kind of surveys. So when I say that you can transition at any point of time in these roles, I mean to say that even if you transition at operations level, you can still reach to the top, right? So there is no stopping you to become the managing director or CEO of that particular company. So that's what I mean. However, and these particular fields on the right hand side, you can also come into these fields at an operations level, but the chances for reaching to the top may be a little lesser, right? So in HACQ, it's typically someone who has experience certain use case, certain things at the sea, they are preferred in training, because at the end of the day you might have to train a master or a chief engineer. Technical superintendent, it's people generally look at chief engineers. Pilot, if you've not sailed as master, you've not piloted a vessel, you've not maneuvered a vessel, it's hard for someone to take you as a pilot. In some surveyors role, sailing as master chief engineer is helpful. Weather routing, again, especially at a senior level, you've got yourself you should have done weather routing yourself. All the second officers get into weather routing, but generally then to reach at the top, probably highly likely at a master would be there. So that's my take on shore job based on your sailing rank. When could you transition and what roles could you get into? Anshu, like, I guess you're there. Like to hear from you. What do you think about at what level can a person transition? Right.
So that's it, Captain Gaurav. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Anshu. Thanks for about telling us about your journey. Vikram, a very quick insight in an objective manner. What is your take on when a person could transition ashore at an operations or at management level?
Sure, Captain Gaurav. So, Captain Gaurav, I think, is already covered. Just to add to what Captain Gaurav has already mentioned, is if your ambition or if your aim is to learn and grow, which you have already figured out in your why, then sooner the better, right? So any rank is fine. Whenever you have realized your why, that okay, I think I'm now stagnant and not, I would want to grow. Whatever rank you are, if you're not enjoying it, sooner the better. Because I have in in my own organization, I've seen third mates just did one ship, came with us, and now they have transitioned themselves into different departments which are not actually typically shipping related, because they are smart, they have a hunger, right? They have an appetite to grow. So if you have that, sooner the better. Do not wait for a certain day or a rank or something. And of course, you have to look after your financial liabilities as well. That is very important, because remember, when you come ashore, you will take a lot of hit. The hit in your salary is going to be huge, right? Whenever you will see your paycheck at the month end, you're going to, every time that thought will come into your mind, oh, maybe it's better if I go back. That will be there. But if you have that appetite that no, I want to stay and I want to grow, then do it sooner.
I totally agree. Just one point, and I just met yesterday a second mate who transitioned ashore 5 years back, and he revealed that when he transitioned ashore at that time, his salary was 9 lakhs, and now in 5 years his salary is 50 lakhs. Right. So it's a if you have the right kind of attitude, if you have the right kind of thought process, any time is a good time to transition ashore. As it's rightly said in down below, there is no wrong time to do the right thing, right? So if you are not enjoying, you can transition ashore. We typically look at people, whom we have sailed with, and we ask them about suggestions, and then it gets confusing, right? So that's the reason this is coming from people who've already been there, done that. So yeah, guys. So as I said, figure out the why, and I'm just going back. First, figure out the why, then is where. How can you figure out the where? Go to a website, go on the mentors page. You will see the 30 odd fields where a mariner could get into. And I have also listed down at operations level where you could go at in management level, where it would be preferable to go at what rank, in which fields you could go at what rank, right? Now, if the why and where is clear to you, the how becomes easier, right? Now, typically, why I'm saying this is, generally people want to how. So it's, how do I transition ashore? How do I become? How do I get into commercial? How do I become a technical superintendent? How do I become a pilot? Right? Please, and my request is, figure out first, why do you want to transition? discuss this with your family, discuss with someone who has done that, understand where you would want to go, and by where it's also what kind of skills that you possess, where are those skills best utilized, figure that out, and then honestly, I'll tell you the how becomes much more easier. And then what's the process of the how? Shortlist the fields where you could go. So I showed you about 30 odd fields. Shortlist say 3 or 4 of them. You could take a psychometry test. You could take a few tests, or come to us. We could tell you which kind of fields you could get into. Take guidance from experts in those fields, right? So if you have chosen, say, commercial, you have chosen maritime law, you have chosen sales, right? These are the 3 places where you would want to go. Now talk to people who have been doing that for at least 3 years, right? Because that's the time when a person themselves understand about that field. Then start enhancing your skills into those areas. Build your network, right? Talk to people, and not just 1 or 2, talk to many people. Join a professional body, you'll be able to network. Self brand yourself, right? LinkedIn is probably one of the best mediums nowadays. So get your branding going. Whatever your thoughts are, share it with a wider community. Connect with people over there. Make a good CV for yourself. Apply only to the selected jobs, right? At the initial stage, apply for the jobs which are of interest to you. Then get a job of your liking, excel and grow, and enhance your skills again. So the last point is very important. Just because you've got the first break doesn't mean that you stay stagnant over there. It's important to reinventing yourself, to keep on enhancing yourself, to keep on growing, essentially, right? The next question which comes, right, and I've honestly revealed the answer over here itself. Do you need to upskill for a shore job? Just to get any shore job? The answer is probably no. However, so if there is a choice to upskill or not to upskill, and I've seen this, out of 100 people, only 15 people think of upskilling. Why? Because at this junction in the maritime industry, if you are planning to transition, there are enough and more jobs, right? So you could get a job if you want to transition ashore, but and probably only 15% of people would look to upskill themselves. Now, out of those 15 people who want to upskill, I can tell you 80%, right? So this 12 people of these 15 will reach at a senior level ashore, right? And their rise will be much faster than the people who haven't upskilled, right? The people who haven't upskilled, so 85 people who didn't upskill, out of these 85, can you reach to the top? Can you reach at the senior levels? Absolutely. But the percentage is lesser. So out of these 85 people, probably only 10 to 15%. So say about 11 people may be able to reach to the senior most levels ashore, right? Now, which means that the probability of a person to reach to the top is higher if you upskill yourself. So do you need to upskill to settle ashore, to transition ashore? Probably no. But if you really want to reach to the top, the probability is higher if you have upskilled. And always investment in education, honestly, never goes waste. That's always there. So keep on, upskilling yourself. Keep on thinking on what's the latest coming in the industry. Where do you find those opportunities to upskill, and then go about it. All right, I'll just take a quick poll over here. And how many of you agree to what we said? Do you think you need to upskill for shore job? You think yes, probably no, or you don't know. So just sharing the results of the poll, most of you do agree that 90% of you feel that you need to upskill for a short job. 9% of you feel no, you don't have to, and that's perfectly okay. So you don't have to honestly upskill for a short job. It's just that the progression is much more smoother if you upskill. Now, generally, when we talk about upskilling, there are two ways, and the first question, the first thought which generally comes to a person's mind is doing an MBA, right? And is MBA for me? I did an MBA. Anshul did an MBA. Vikram went for a more shipping focused course. Now, and this is from experience, right? It's been 14 years since I've left sailing, since I've been ashore. So I think if you want to do MBA, which I think is in terms of learning, it's probably one of the best courses. But the question which you should ask is, do you want to stay in shipping, right? If the answer is yes, then just a plain Jane non-shipping MBA may not be the best option. But it depends. Do you want to stay in shipping or not? If you do not want to stay in shipping, MBA may not be the best option, because honestly, shipping doesn't recognize a normal MBA as much as a shipping focused degree. If you do not want to stay in shipping, then you should look for an MBA with the following options. If your age is less than 30, look for a full-time MBA from top 20 colleges in whichever geography you are, right? If you're in India, top 20. If you're in Europe, US, wherever it is, look for top 20 colleges. As your age increases, between 30 to 35, look for top 10 colleges in MBA. 35 to 40, look for only the top 3 colleges for MBA. And more than 40, I wouldn't recommend an MBA. The reason why I said is that as your age increases, your desirability, the company's desirability to hire you, right? That in a way reduces, because you may be, in a cohort with younger people, right? And or maybe you could be reporting to people who are junior than you in age, or lesser or younger to you, right? So that's the reason. If you're looking to do an MBA, then based on your age, look at the top colleges, right? Distance learning MBA is generally not preferred, unless you just, if it's a qualification criteria. So for example, in a government service, if you want to go to the top, MBA is required. And at time, possibly a distance learning MBA would be preferred, right? Or yeah, it's mostly, or in a government organization and other private organizations also, if MBA is a tick mark, then possibly do a distance learning part. If you see the bottom line, as your age increases, the risk on getting the ROI from the MBA reduces, right? And I'm purely talking from a ROI perspective. For learning, for just holistic development of yourself, you can do it MBA at any point of time. The kind of learnings that you will have, the kind of growth that you will feel within yourself will be amazing, right? So you can do it for upskilling at any point of time, but in terms of ROI, right? In terms of your objective of getting more salary, your objective of getting to a senior role, the risk increases as the age increases. Now, what I would prefer is, if you're wanting to stay in shipping, right? And I would suggest, if a person has done about 6 to 7 years in shipping, or maybe more than 5 years within shipping, then I would suggest that you look at shipping logistics courses, right? And what are those kind of courses, and how do you choose them? Do you want to continue sailing? If you want to continue sailing, but you still want to upskill, right? You don't have plans to leave sailing in the near future. Look at short-term courses during breaks or look at distance learning courses. Why I say this is because any kind of learning, any kind of education is good, and at maybe some point later in the future, you want to transition ashore, these will help you, right? If you want to continue sailing, but not for eternity, right? There could be two choices. You want to transition abroad, or you want to transition in India. If you want to transition, if you want to settle abroad, and maybe you want to transition in maybe 1 to 2 years, or maybe immediately also. If you wanted to settle abroad, then understand the interest which you have, shortlist the colleges. So by understand your interest, I mean to say is, do you want to stay into pure shipping, which could be, say, commercial shipping, which could be ship management, or you want to get into port sector, you want to get into the logistics sector. So understand which part of maritime do you want to stay in, understand your interest, accordingly shortlist a college as per that interest, right? And the geography of that college. Save money for whatever time you have planned. So you plan to probably settle in ashore in maybe a couple of years. Save money for that and invest into a full-time course. If you're looking to settle in India, and there are not many full-time courses, good full-time courses in India in the shipping side. There's one which is recently come through IIM Mumbai. It's still in the initial stages. So I would suggest then look at short-term courses during breaks. Look at distance learning courses. In India, not many good full-time courses, but there are few which we could tell you about and then follow the same process. What are the courses that can be looked at? If you continue sailing, then there are courses in commercial shipping, digitization and shipping, maritime law. Similar courses if you want to immediately settle in India, and there's also courses from the UK, Cyprus, Greece, which are in distance learning format. You can look at those courses. Or if you want to settle abroad, then look at courses in port management, trade and logistics, economics and logistics as well. Now, what are those courses? I'm probably just telling them in detail. The courses could be in economics and logistics, maritime law, commercial shipping. These are all 1 year or 2 year courses, depending on your experience, depending on your certification. And these courses could be in France, Cyprus, Greece, Netherlands, where Vikram has done his course from, UK, Canada, any of these places. Or there are these short-term courses, for example, CN and Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers, we have a course in commercial shipping. We are launching a course in a couple of weeks into maritime digitalization, maritime law course, or these other international trade and maritime law, shipping management, MBA kind of courses. How do you pick your interest? Pick a course, understand the interest, right? Where do you want to go? First of all, shipping or non-shipping. Within shipping, core ship management or a broader part of ship management, ports, logistics, supply chain. Understand the geography you want to be in, right? You want to be in India, you want to be in Middle East, you want to be in Europe, you want to be in US, you want to be in Australia. Understand that, right? Check the credibility of wherever you do that course from. How do you check the credibility of the course? I think one of the most important things is the network that you build through the course, right? Especially a full-time course. And so, I mean, why IIM Ahmedabad is probably number one right now in India is because the network that this college gives you. The who's and who of world leaders have come from IIM Ahmedabad. So that network is what is very, very important when you're looking for a full-time course. look at the network that you can leverage on, and then look at the return on investment, right? That's how you pick up a course. So if I have to summarize whatever I've mentioned till now in these slides is, if you want to transition, understand the why, right? Understand why do you want to transition? And it has to be a very heart-to-heart conversation with your family, with your friends, with the counselor. I would suggest refrain about talking, to talk about this with your friends who have not done a transition, right? Because it gets confusing then. Talk to seniors who have already done that transition. Talk to counselors. So first is understand your why. Second is research on where. Explore those options. Talk to experienced people directly. Network, and I've told you network through two ways: online networking through LinkedIn, offline networking through taking membership of professional bodies, CMI, IMEI, Nautical Institute, Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers, Institute of Marine Surveys, enough and more, at least 20 of them where you could take their membership, not very expensive. And then again, ask for help, there are enough and more people to support you. Act on how, right? Once you've understood the why and where, act on how. So make your CV, get on LinkedIn, leverage your network, practice your pitch, right? There's only one question which you have to answer properly to get into a good, to get into a role Ashore is, why a shore job? If you can answer that convincingly, right? I think you should be able to crack a job, and obviously upskill, right? Upskill in various ways. I just wanted to have this slide because while we are talking about the transition, while we are talking about where to the roles which are there, this slide tells us that the world, the trade which is there has been increasing like anything, and is expected to increase. The GDP is increasing, not probably the same pace at which the trade is increasing, but the population is probably not increasing at maybe 30% or at more than 70% of the level in which the trade is increasing, right? So there are going to be opportunities, and there are a lot of opportunities right now in India, honestly. So there is going to be a demand, and where will the supply come from, right? Where will the supply come from? Who are going to be able to manage the work which is going to be generated? It's essentially people with maritime experience, because the trade is increasing. We are the right set of people to address this. There are a lot of companies which are come into India, and we are not just a crewing hub right now. We are in companies are investing in logistics, in ship management, in technology. Marine tech is coming in, is already there in India in a big way. So upskill yourself, and there are going to be a lot of opportunities if they are not there right now. The growth of opportunities is really increasing very fast. Now, while I have said whatever I've said, one point which a lot of mariners struggle is, and that's the way which we have been brought up, right? If I do this thing, will I get a job? So I can tell you, no college, no course can guarantee that you will get a job into ABC thing if you do XYZ. The best of the colleges, Harvard, IIMs, HEC, whatever colleges anywhere in the world will not be able to guarantee that. However, when I talk to a lot of maritime professionals, especially mariners, because we know in our sailing that after 3 years or after a certain period of time, we will get promoted and we will become a master or a chief engineer. We need that guarantee. We need that assurance that we will get So that is not going to happen. Immediate returns will not happen. The salaries will, of course, no one will be able to match your current salaries as well. But what you'll have to do is focus on the process. And that's very, very, very important, guys. If you're doing the right thing, it's just a matter of time. And as I said, this second officer whom I was talking to yesterday, he just wanted to transition ashore. He came at a very low salary, and he's probably making much more than a master with maybe 3 years, 4 years of shore experience would be making right now. So the end goal may not be clear when you transition ashore. In shipping, while we are sailing, we are living in white or black. We are living in a kind of certainty in most cases, but over here, day in, day out, we are not certain of what's going to happen, where our career is going to lead to. You have to believe in the process. You have to believe in what you are doing is correct. The immediate gratification will not happen. It will take some time. You will get the ROI. You will get the value for your time spent, the value for your money that you have spent. Where can Sea and Beyond help you? We can counsel you to understand whether shore transition is for you or not, right? We're developing a psychometric test wherein we could help you. We can counsel you to choose a field of your choice. So we've got 60 plus experts. We have identified 30 plus fields. So we could help you in counseling. We can counsel you to get a choice to a field of your choice. We can help you in getting the course of your choice, right? We have partnered to 40 plus colleges across 10 plus countries where we can, or courses within India as well. And we could help you over there. We could help you build your CV, your LinkedIn profile as well. And last but not the least, right? And I tell this always, placement is a byproduct of everything else that you do. You do everything else, placement will happen. And that's something which we do day in, day out. We've partnered to 200 plus companies, and earlier it was mostly in India. Now we have partnered to companies in Canada, companies in Copenhagen, companies in UAE, in Singapore, in Thailand, in Indonesia, in Sri Lanka, and a few countries in Africa. So we can support you in your placement as well. As I said, the vision of Sea and Beyond is to help maritime professionals take a well-informed decision. Idea is that we empower you, we are able to guide you, and you achieve. Right? That's pretty much from my side, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot of questions. They're already there in the chat window, and a couple of minutes from both of you, Vikram and Anshul, on your, the best practices probably for transition and things like that, and just take a couple of minutes only, and then we'll go back quickly to the questions. I'm hoping a lot of questions might have been answered, but let's see the question. So maybe we start with you, Vikram, first.
Right. So I think Captain Gaurav, you've covered everything really well, but I just want to add a few pointers. You've already mentioned that example of the second officer, and I fully, concur with the same. Because when you transition ashore, being in a very senior management rank, one more thing comes in is your flexibility, right? You come with so much of your knowledge already that even if you are going to get a good role, which may not be paying you very well at that point of time, but cutting down your living standards from there and taking that kind of role, even if it is interesting to you, you will have restrictions. So that is one thing. Secondly, when you join very early in 25, 26, or before 30, and when you join at 35, 36, the pay gap what you have is you will easily cover that within next 3-4 years. What example Captain Gaurav gave very rightly. So if you want to, like, I'll again emphasize on this, if you want to join, if you want to move ashore, there is no right time. This is the right time. When you want, that is the right time. So just do it wherever you are, right? Of course, if you are just, just a few months away from your getting a command or something very significant, definitely wait for it. It does add that, title in front of your name does add some value, but it is not that significant that it will cover those 5 6 years or 10 years of gap. So that is one thing. And of course, your financial liabilities is one very important thing which you need to actually sit with your spouse or your family and discuss with them, because they should be equally important in your decision making. Because see what happens, most of us, we take this leap, we take this transition, or we do this, most of us do this for the family reason as well. And when you transition ashore, we all think, oh, I'm going to get a very good work life balance and those sort of things. But trust me, as you keep growing even in ashore, uh, it again depends on your responsibility and roles. You may not be getting what you would wish for, right? But then of course, if you have that appetite, that hunger to grow, you may have to sacrifice a few things, right? So that is there. And yes, I'm a strong advocate of this thing as well. I know there has been some discussions around age, right? I see in the chat box also some questions there. But if you have the right attitude, I don't think so age could be a factor. But provided, you cannot just go there and say, okay, I'm a master mariner and I have a 20 years of experience, because trust me, ashore, 2 years and 20 years, people look at the same way. Unless you have some additional upskilling, you have like, okay, I'm good with AI, or I'm good with digitalization, I'm good with data, you've done something extra, that definitely helps, because that shows that, okay, this person has an attitude, he's willing to learn. Second thing about full-time courses, they definitely are always above than, these distance learning, because any recruiter sees that attitude of your, that this person has invested time in himself, that to full time. So that definitely, says a lot about that person, that this person has a very different kind of an attitude. I think I would, yeah, that is it.
Thanks. Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks, Captain Vikram. That's very insightful, and I agree to whatever you said. Anshul, quickly in 2 minutes, if you could also summarize your thoughts in terms of transition, and we'll get into the questions and probably get into the specifics of it in the questions as well.
Yes, sir. Okay, so what I want to say is that first thing to understand is the first thing to do, first step to do if you are trying to transition is, do the gap analysis. Gap analysis of yourself. I mean, where do you stand? What do you currently know? What you don't know? This understanding, this is the most important thing. And when you start having this introspection, you will start finding the ways. Believe me that when I say this is an anecdotal experience, because I also did the same. Point number two is never shy away from learning. The age doesn't matter. I understand that this also always comes that, okay, this is my age now. How I'm going to do this? When I say this, that people saying that with a growing age your learning capacity drops, it's all a myth. It's all I have seen people, learning a coding language, computer language, coding languages such as complicated as Python at the age of 45, 46, so that they can just keep up with the growth of the AI. They're not going to do the coding. They just want to know what their team is doing all along, and how they can answer those technical questions in the presentations and meetings, which they're supposed to answer. People are looking at them to answer. So remember this: there's no age to learn. Understanding what I have to learn, there is everything out in the sun. Don't go out and grab everything. Understand what you need to do. That is first thing. Do the introspection and need to learn. They always take baby steps. Taking baby steps. Eating an elephant, as I may quote Chetan Bhagat over here, if Gaurav will allow me. So eating an elephant is easy if you can cut it into small pieces and eat it every day. So that's what I'll just finish off with. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Anshul. Thank you so much. Very well said. So yeah, guys, I'll go to the questions now, and maybe some of them are answered, but I'll pick and choose the questions which are more generic in nature, specific ones we could probably take at a later stage as well. I'm starting with the question from Chief Engineer Nand Kishore, and he's 45 years old, and he's asking for, is there any age for transition? So, to be very honest, generally, companies have a cutoff of about 40 to say 43 to consider for a first time, a master or a chief engineer, right? That's generally, right? Why do they have this age restriction? Is because in their experience, when people at higher ages have shifted, they were not able to cope up with the pressure. They're not able to cope up or work well with the other colleagues, right? That's generally the case. However, if you really want to transition and 2, 3, 4, 5 years here and there does not matter, as what Captain Vikram also said, Anshul also said. But you'll have to take that extra step. You may have to go and meet a person. You may have to do that little bit of convincing that
Whatever.
I am not probably one of them who like others. I am ready to transition. I know what it is to transition. I'm ready to upskill myself. So that extra step will need to be taken if you are on the higher side. There's no about an higher age, but that extra step would have to be taken. Moving to the next question, Rahul. Oil tanker with 6 months experience in rank. You need a shore job. All right. Again, Rahul, as I said, the three W's. Why do you want to transition? Where do you want to transition? And how do you want to transition? Right, two W's and one H. How do you want to these three? Gap analysis you do, and so once you've done that, you will yourself be in a position to answer that, and how should you go about it. But as we've all said, upskilling is one thing which you should always keep on considering if you want to get into a field of your choice. Ravi, you've answered your okay. Ravi has answered one of the questions. Gregory, how you'll be dealing with necessary experience time for new role? Generally, when you transition and a mariner transition ashore, you're not hired basis your relevant your experience in that role, right? You are not evaluated that on, say, a technical superintendent skills. You are evaluated on your personality, on your probability or your how much can you learn, how much can you absorb, how much can you gel with the team. So they will not that evaluation is not on your skills for that particular job, but it's just more on how can you smoothly transition ashore. Shadab,
Captain,
yes.
good afternoon. Sorry, that was my question.
All right.
Sorry for interruption. Yes, I would
Go ahead.
like just to participate shortly, as I am a little bit, let's say, away from your common tribe, as I see. But let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Grigory. I'm just recently finished. Well, my story is the typical, let's say, transitions. I've been graduating from State Maritime Academy in Russia, 1994, electromechanical faculty, and I used to sail as ETO at the merchant fleet for 12 years. So, and let's say I quit sailing 21 years ago, and I turned to the shipbuilding industry. So recently I am ended up as the senior technical manager and advisor for HD KSOE, which is the top of three big yards, HHI, MIPO, and some whole yards in Korea. So Yes, I would just abridge my story, but I would like to highlight some things for, on my opinion, it's necessary for perform the transition. Uh, yes, I would recommend to first try to choose what is the most close to your knowledge, let's say, to what you have done. Because I've been in ETO, and so I changed my role to the commissioning engineer for the, let's say, gas plant system, uh, let's say the LPG gas plant system. And okay, it was actually close to what I have done before. Then I developed
To
myself for.
summarize quickly, Gregory, if you whatever you're saying, I think what you're saying is making a lot of sense. But if you could summarize, because we have a lot of other questions as well. Please go ahead.
Okay, so briefly, let's say, try to do the small step first. As you the, let's say, the seagoing engineer, maybe you try to negotiate for a long vacation with your company. Try to go to, let's say, to shore. Try to, let's say, to work ashore on the, let's say, reasonable position. And if you feel you well fit in, so then you can break. And worst case scenario, you can just continue to your term for sailing. This is the, let's say, I think would be helpful for the beginning. This is actually my story. I fit well, so then I quit sailing. And
That's a very good suggestion.
also just don't be afraid, let's say, that you wouldn't come back, because nowadays the fleet is growing, so the fleet is eager for the qualified staff. So even in 5, 10 years, you might be back. So you just renew your COC and then you can be back. So and yes, the educational, let's say, uplift. This is also quite important if you want to reach the certain level. Yes, if you want to overlap your, let's say, existing salary as the seaman. Yeah,
Yes.
it would not happen, immediately, but if you will keep this track, like it will happen. So this is my case, honestly. Last not least, I am, let's say, doing the also the private consulting in the gas carriers of various type and the system fuel system, so I can just drop the my linked connection. So anyone welcome to contact for the private consultation and so on.
So
Like,
nice of
and
you,
also
Gregory. Really
share
appreciate it. So
videos, let's say.
absolutely. So nice of you, Gregory. So I'm just summarizing what Gregory said. During the break, try and take some odd jobs from within the company. Keep on upskilling yourself. Understand your experience and try and look for relevant jobs over there. And of course, he's there to support. His Gregory is kindly putting the link in the bio. So in the chat
Yeah,
box. So nice of you to
that's right.
come
That's
for.
right.
Thank you so much.
Because my question for the experience was, when I try to move to the, let's say, the other industry, like far away, like oil and gas related, but far away, I failed because in everywhere, oh please, you need like 3 to 5 years of experience. Let's
I
say in this
agree. I
particular
agree.
case,
That's where
and then
upskilling would help.
when you are close, then you can actually try to prove during the interview, so your ability, you can be fit for this position. Even you
I
don't have
understood.
experience, but
Understood.
you transfer your previous knowledge, and it would be fit for this particular case. So this is my suggestion.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate your suggestions. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And we'll move
Thank
in.
you, everyone.
Thanks. Moving to the next question is from Shadab Sultan on ICS PQE examination, whether it will help you to get a job. It will help you to definitely help you to get a job, but can it be confirmed that you will get a job because of ICS PQE examination? No, right? So just clarifying that it'll support you, it'll give you brownie points to get into an interview, but not everyone will get a job because they have done the PQE examination, right? Does this come under prefix of commercial department? ICS it covers the entire bit. Shipbroking is the prefixture part of it. Chartering is the prefixture part of it. But with ICS, you learn about prefixture, you learn about operations, and you also learn about claims as well. This is a question from Meet Solanki and Vikram. I think there's no one better than you to answer this particular question if you're around. And this is a role. Have you seen the question, Vikram? This is from Meet Solanki. How is vessel performance analyst role? Long-term opportunities.
Just a second, let me go to, okay, yes.
Let me take the next question, and in the meanwhile, there are about 5 questions he's mentioned. You read through them, and then I'll take the next question.
Sure, no problem.
And there are a lot of questions there, so I just kind of want to take them all. Keshav's question is, GMAT preparation should be taken with sailing, or better will be take a break and prepare for an exam? Keshav, you can start when you are sailing, but it definitely requires for you to take a very, very focused learning for GMAT. And I think that focused learning can only come in a break. You can also crack GMAT examination in a couple of months of focused learning. So 2 months of focused learning and maybe 3-4 months in one contract should be enough. And coming back to Meet's question, and over to you, Vikram, please.
Thank you. Right. Okay, so yeah, first one is, how's the vessel performance analyst role from a career growth perspective? So I think I'll answer your first and your third question together. So if you are a fourth engineer, if you're from an engineer background, it is more aligned to that, right? Because you'll understand the vessel performance perspective better than a third officer. Of course, even if you're a deck officer, I think if you have a certain interest into vessel performance and things, you will pick up quickly. But if you're from an engineering background, that would be easier. From the long-term career perspective, when you say long-term, right, at least think for 5 years, I would say. And if you're looking at 5 years and if you continue, I think there is a lot of growth here. Even like companies like Zero North, right? I think there are more than, at least what I know, more than a handful of already them, at least in India, who are doing this kind of vessel performance. So there is certain career growth in this transition. And what happens, any organization which is into this vessel performance, voyage optimization, they have a lot of verticals, a lot of where you may, if you have interest elsewhere, you may transition yourself as well. So that is about your career growth. And then there was, just a second. Okay. What kind of long that is? Your fourth is, what skills are typically required to get into this role? So just your engineering knowledge, as long as you know what a ship is, what hull fouling is, what is basic engine parameters and all those kind of, what is a fuel curve, those kind of things. So nothing specific, but of course you need to understand what a ship is, what a ship engine is, and what is the performance is. So I think if you're an engineer, that should be fine. And the last part of it, is there a growing demand for this role? I think I've already answered this, because there are more than a handful already just in India I'm talking about. So yes, because see what happens, this vessel performance is a part of optimization. And at the end of the day, each and every company, every ship in the world has to do this in some due course of time, because even IMO is coming up with their own decarbonization goals now, and they are going to put some fines and penalties and their own carbon levy kind of system. So eventually every shipping company in the world is going to go for these kind of things. And if there would be need, of course, then there is going to be a lot of players into this field. So yes, there's a lot of this is one of the most growing sectors right now in the shipping industry.
I totally agree with you, Vikram. Totally agree. Thank you for answering this question. And I'm glad that this question came up and you are there, because you are absolutely the right person for this question. Thank you. I've got a few more questions. Yogesh question is on entrepreneurship topics. So I think there are a lot of ideas which we mariners have about entrepreneurship, and all are good. But I think the first question over here is, what is the pain that you are trying to solve? That's number one. Second is, make a business plan, and that business plan should not be in your mind. You have to write it down, start getting it vetted by a few people. Do a very small use case, you do a very small proof of concept if you can. For example, when I started C and Beyond, we used to do a lot of mentoring sessions, right? And that was the proof of the pudding, that when I saw there was a lot of demand, that's when I understood that this is something which is worth pursuing. And nowadays a lot of people are doing entrepreneurship, their own small, big, medium companies, and that's something which I would encourage everyone to get into as well. Aman's question is, how is the assistant technical superintendent job for a third engineer? It is fairly good, Aman. Only thing is that at some point of time you may feel stuck. If you're getting into an assistant technical, you may not be able to come to a technical superintendent level. So in 5, 7, 8 years time, you may feel a little stuck. And where would you go? So what I would suggest is that at your level, operations level, if you want to transition, procurement is probably a better area for you to get into. You can become the head of purchase procurement in not only shipping companies, but also logistics, ports companies. And I know at least 3 or 4 people who are at third engineer level who are probably earning a package of 70, 80 lakhs right now, who are managing the procurement of these bigger companies. Ravi sir, good to have you here, and I'll probably get you in the end for your advice on the pilotage, and it'll be really great to have your advice. But let me just take up all the questions first. Age restriction, Nelson, I've already mentioned, typically 40, but it can, you have to take a little bit more effort if you're above 40. Arun, I think your question on sustainability roles have been answered by Vikram. This is something which will keep on growing. You'll have to keep on learning about these roles. You'll have to keep on talking to people, essentially try and take some certification, and I'm sure there will be a lot of opportunities. All right. Moving on. Gagandeep Singh, any specific opportunities was ETOs? ETOs can become electrical superintendents. We have a couple of opportunities for electrical superintendents right now, Gagandeep, in both in Mumbai and Delhi. So maybe you could reach out to us. That's number one. Second is, there is a opportunity for ETOs in the tech space, as maritime, maritech space, maritime technology space, and into vessel performance. So these are the opportunities which ETOs can have on the shore side of things. Aman, executive MBA, I think I've already answered that question when I showed you the flow chart. Anything else, I can, if you write to education@cnbeyond.com, we can probably take it one-on-one. Devendra, same question, I guess. Amar Singh, does CNBeyond also conduct any course, and what value does it give me as a student? So Amar, we have a couple of courses. We have a course in commercial shipping. We've placed about 3 to 4 people after who have done this course in companies like Cargill, Navigate, a couple of guys getting into Scorpio as we speak as well. So the end goal is, if for you the end goal is job, you will definitely get that. But also there's a lot of upskilling which happens, so you'll be able to understand the different facets of commercial shipping, even if you have to keep on sailing. Okay. How a guy who started as DNS credit and became a captain can do MBA? Good question, Ravi. So there are 2, 3 ways. One is, if you have if you're a second mate, you can have an equivalency certificate from AIU. If you have a master's license from India, you can get an equivalency certificate from Mumbai University. And if you have a master's license or a chief engineer's license from MCA, UK, then you can get an equivalency from WES Canada. The process for all the three have been listed on CNBeyond's website. If you go there in the blog section, you'll find that we also have videos on our YouTube channel to guide you in terms of how do you apply for these equivalency certificates. Vetri, I am assuming I've answered your question on executive MBA. Will it be helpful? You want to transition from outside shipping? It is helpful. Other than IIM Mumbai, I think there's no other shipping focused MBA in India. Otherwise, I think it's better to probably do a shipping focused course. Charanjit Singh, do we need to upskill for joining a vessel operator? Maybe, may not be. Few people have got without upskilling. If you upskill, there are better chances of you to get a job. Krishna Prasad, I think we've answered that question for you in terms of insights into shipbroking chartering. This is something which all of us want to get into. Most mariners. It's very, very demanding job. Initially, it just take you about a year, minimum a year to get the hang of that particular field. But still, as you grow, you will still be kind of understanding the ropes. The work would still be there. But the good thing is that you'll be higher up the food chain, right? So you are the guys who will probably be informing, telling the superintendents what to do. It is perceived as a more responsible job in the industry, and it probably is as well. So it's a good field to get into. We have a course which we'll start in July, first week of July for commercial shipping. You may look at that, Krishna, as well. What are your options to transition to shore job as master at the age of 46? Nelson, as I said, you may have to have a personalized pitch. However, there are a lot of opportunities in training, right? Wherein more the experience, the better it is. And that's where you could leverage. Also in pilotage, I think the more experience as a master, the better it is. You can look at government ports which will be more than happy to take you as well. You can get into marine superintendent. You can also get into the audit roles, right? Which are possibly you might have to travel a bit, but those are the easy roles for you to get into as well. Charanjit, how do you settle abroad after completion? So typically, most of these colleges give you a post-study work visa, 1 year post-study work visa, 2 year post-study work visa. Most people get jobs over there itself, and the companies keep on renewing your work visa. So that's how it typically works if you do a degree from outside India. Thanks, Gregory. We've got your story. I've got a personalized question from M. Bhardwaj. Not many could see this. Okay. M. Bhardwaj is a very personalized question on basically how you with your family can transition into a particular geography and a particular role. What I'll suggest is, and Smita, if you can write that email ID down, education@cnbeyond.com. And Bhardwaj, if you write us an email, I think our counselors will be able to support you. I'll be able to support you much better. Your question is very specific to yourselves. Parasu Padhyay, you are a second mate, you want to transition ashore into logistics. I think there are opportunities into agency. There are opportunities into port operations. But I believe it is better for you to upskill yourself, and there are courses which are in Dubai, in France, in Netherlands, in UK into logistics. Which you do that, your probability of going higher in the food chain, higher within a company, will be better. So do these courses, it will be better for you. Again, send us an email and we'll be able to tell you their options. Praveen, how long you are likely to stay ashore and willing to learn? Right. I think that's a reply to one of the questions. Captain Saket, what are the prospects in the field weather routing for a master mariner and how to go about it? Your cup of tea, Vikram.
Yeah, I think for weather routing, master mariner is the best fit, right? So usually, I think What we look at it, or what any recruiter would look at it, is whether, of course, technically, there is no doubt that a master mariner cannot do weather routing, right? So he is the best fit. But more of it is about the attitude of the person and whether he would be fitting into the team. So that is what I think matters. But yes, weather routing is a good career option because you bring all your seafaring experience, and that too as a master. First thing, and like I said, weather routing is again part of the whole optimization, which most of the companies are doing. So yes, this is also a good field to start with, without any upskilling or without doing any course.
Ravi sir, we really like to hear from you, but I just want to address all the questions. I think there are a few more remaining, and so that those people who have asked the questions, they are addressed, and then we hear your story, and we really want to hear that out. Suraj's question is: he's sailing as a second mate. He wants to pursue this transition while working at sea. Would I need to quit my current job? You're 33 years old, Suraj, I would suggest it's better for you to do a full-time course. If you would have been 26, 27, I probably would have told you that you do some certification courses. But at this point of time, it's better for you to do a full-fledged course. The probability of transitioning will be higher. Ravi sir has also put in some comments. How and where to get information about GMAT. Gaurav, there is enough and more information on Google, honestly, about GMAT. If you have anything specific, I can possibly answer that, but I also gave GMAT about 8 to 9 years back. Path to becomes owner representative for chief, second engineer, and salary. There's only one path for it, Prakash: network. And that's where you will understand which companies are looking at owner's representative. And generally, for becoming an owner's representative, you will typically have to become a technical superintendent. You will directly not become a owner's representative directly. Gaurav, for procurement, dev officers are not suited because the kind of procurement that you have to do, it's technical in nature. We may not be able to understand the size of the bearing, the specifications of a pump, the nuisance in a boiler, the piston, the O-rings. We may not be able to understand that. Hence, engineers are more suited for procurement jobs. Nisarg in Ahmedabad, chief officer, presently on tankers. Type of jobs available by salary. Okay, in Gujarat Maritime Board, Nisarg, there are opportunities, and if you go on their website, they look for port officers, right? And if you are in Gujarat, I think there will be a lot of opportunities over there. I would strongly suggest that you go and visit GMB. They have their office in Gujarat Maritime Board in Gandhinagar, or you can visit GMU as well. There in GMB, for sure, there will be opportunities over a period of time. Not every time they'll be there. Thanks, Gregory. You were there. Your insights were very helpful. Captain Aman, you've 16 months of experience as master, and you've got at the age of 32. You're at the right age. You've got the right kind of experience, Captain Aman. There are two ways to it. One is identify, and whichever geography you are in, most of the commercial companies are in and around NCR. So try and make a list of those 10 companies, 10, 15 companies, go and talk to them. Tell them that you are interested in pre-fixtures, which is what you have mentioned, chartering, broking, and ask them to give you a chance. You can also do our course, which is in commercial shipping. It starts in July. One of the persons, a master who did our course, he's just got a job in one of the companies as broker in Gurgaon. So what happens when you do our course or any other course is that when you approach a company and tell them that I want to get into this particular part, then you are also able to say that I have done A, B, C thing, and probably I understand that what is the life of a person in this, and what are the skills required, right? So you have to put some skin in the game, and that's the time when companies will be more inclined to hire you. Right? So you have to build that story, but there is no easy way out. You'll have to either go through recruitment consultants, or you will have to approach these companies. Hardev Singh, you're third engineer and looking for a shore job. We probably have at any point of time about 3 or 4 shore jobs for junior third engineers, fourth engineer. We have a job in Qatar right now for a third engineer. We have a job in Mumbai also for a third engineer. So if you're looking for one, drop a line to education@cnbeyond.com. Digvijay, likewise for Kirit, we have a couple of openings in Mumbai, so write to us. Nelson, the duration of the courses, there are 2 courses: Introduction to Commercial Shipping, which is 6 weeks, and and there is advanced course in commercial shipping, which is again of 6 weeks. I would suggest that everyone does an introduction course as well. In introduction course, a lot of marine superintendents, technical superintendents, masters have done those courses, and it's important to understand the basics of commercial shipping. As masters, we do not understand the whole hog, honestly, while we may think of it. All right, Suraj is sailing as a second mate with mate's license. Can I pursue the transition while still working at sea, or would I need to quit? I think I've answered your question, Suraj. I would say, all right, we acknowledge that. Aman, how to approach for the procurement roles? We partner to a few companies which have these kind of roles. Aman, write to us and we should be able to support you. Vetri, for procurement, there is a good course in France. It's the #1 course in the world for a procurement. Maybe you could look at that. Or if you're wanting to get into just shipping roles directly without doing a course, write to us. We should be able to support you. Abu, what about LNG engineers with prior class serving experience? Age is under 30, which shoreside will be more suitable in the maritime industry? What do you suggest? You have a class serving experience in LNG. I think you are at the right place, honestly. Why do you want to look at anything else? LNG is the in thing. You could get into the vessel performance side as well, also, Abu, and survey side is always there. There is a lot of opportunities on the consulting side as well in the LNG space. So your class honestly gives you a very, very wider perspective as well, and you are on the right path, is what I would say. Gas commercial field. So there is no specific course for a certain cargo. So a commercial course is a commercial course. It's not for a gas or a bulk or a oil. So you could do a commercial shipping course, and generally there is more chances of a person with gas background to get into commercial shipping than maybe for a bulk or oil, because it's perceived that the gas guys can manage oil, at least oil, may not be bulk, and there will be a demand in the same company for gas, and that's the time when the person will also be able to support. And it's probably, as second officer, third officer level, it's the right time to do courses into the commercial shipping. So that's pretty much from my side in there, and thanks for the question. Ravi sir, I'm sorry to have kept you on hold, but I just wanted to answer all the questions, and we'll be really glad to hear your insights. Thank you for your patience.
Welcome, sir. Welcome. Our pleasure, Captain Gaurav Rana and Captain Vikram, Aditya, and all the panel members and everybody joining us on this webinar. I've been attending many of your webinars, and the recent one, the earlier one, I did attend on the chartering and ship brokering, which I found it very interesting. So briefly, Ravi Penumati, Master Mariner, got my second mate in 1976, mate in 1980, where I got a silver medal for standing first amongst all the candidates, and Masters in 1983. So after that, I sailed for a short time, but then there was a slump in shipping. So I transitioned to offshore. I was an offshore supply boat master with SR shipping, SR offshore. Got some good valuable experience in offshore operations, towing and anchor handling and rig support. And then I came back to sea and sailed as a master with family that time. And I sailed as a mate as well as a master with my wife and son. So that was a good time. But then after there's only certain time, limit of time you can family can save. This is important for all the people to who are having the doubt about when to transition. Is that after son becomes 2 years, child becomes 2 years, obviously he needs to go to school, and then you start sailing alone. And that's when I realized that it's time for me to transition ashore. So sometimes, as you said, Captain Gaurav and Captain Vikramaditya, all the what you said is very much relevant, but destiny and fortune, good luck also play a small part, I feel. As in my case, I would share that 1990, the master in a general cargo ship, steel cargo, put into Durban port. And the South African pilot, he, I don't know what made him to share his experience. He said that, Captain, we are running short of master mariners in South Africa because our training schools are collapsed. And if you would like to join as a marine pilot here, you're most welcome. Please come and have a word with the harbor master. So I went and we were there for a couple of days. I went, met the harbor master and looked at my resume and my credentials. And he offered me the job straight away. He said, whenever we are ready to join. And incidentally, at that time, India did not have diplomatic relations with South Africa. Our passports were stamped, not valid for South Africa and Rhodesia, of course, which is Zimbabwe now. Anyway, I continued sailing and finished my contract, and straight away came to South Africa in February 1991. And incidentally, it created a bit of a history for people who will be interested to know that I was the first Indian pilot to join in the history of South Africa. Always it was the British and South African Gora pilots. So it was a tough time. Anyway, the thing in South Africa is that to become a pilot, one has to be first a qualified and competent tug master. So from a ship master, I had to join as a trainee tug master. But anyway, I opted for that because I wanted to desperate to come ashore. I was 39 at the time. That's the time I realized for all the other people who are listening that 40 years is about the limit. After 40, it's quite difficult to get a shore job. So one must actually keep that as a limit. Anyway, I came ashore, joined as a trainee tug master, and they looked after me very well and welcomed me, even though I was the first Indian pilot. Because as you know, at that time, apartheid was just on the thing, on the waning stage, but still they would consider Indians as second-class citizens. It was a tough time for me. But then I got a lot of support from the Indian diaspora. And I showed my competence because I was offshore tug master, as a tug master there in harbor tug master. And after 2 years, I became a pilot, trained as a pilot under the South African guys. So eventually, as you know, I was working as a pilot in Richards Bay, which is a deep water port, and it's one of the biggest coal exporting terminals. So we used to get a lot of Cape-sized bulkers loading at an 18-meter draft. So after about 6 years of experience there, and everything was hunky-dory, about well settled ashore with a family life. A daughter was born also there, and good support from everybody. And but that time the political uncertainty took place. So that's why this is something which you didn't factor in for. But during this time, I would say, which would be of interest, I was being groomed for higher management roles. So I was asked to enroll in an MBA course, which I started doing online. And but then when the political uncertainty took place after the transition of the black government, I was compelled for security reasons to move out. So I came to Dubai, and again there I was the first in 1996, and was the first Indian pilot in the history of Dubai ports. So because that time the British pilots were retiring, and so I became a pilot in Port Rashid, Dubai. and also trained as a pilot in Dubai Dry Docks, which gets some of the world's largest ships, VLCCs, for docking and other things. So I did, the family settled well ashore. I continued working and doing very well in Dubai, in Port Rashid, as well as Jebel Ali and Dubai Dry Docks, and created a good track record for myself. And during this time, I would also mention that I helped a number of people to get pilot's job in Dubai ports. There were people from Krishnapatnam port. There was a pilot from Singapore, Indian pilot. I helped him to get a job. And also, interestingly, the South African pilots under whom I trained, after they retired, they were looking for jobs. So I helped them to get a job in Dubai ports. So anyway, that's an interesting story. So after that, 2018, I had to retire. I was 67, although I could not continue anymore. So I went back to Hyderabad. I'm from Hyderabad. And then eventually I got a job as a marine consultant in a private company in Dubai. So I'm back here now. But the thing is that I'm still piloting. I'm 74, incidentally, and I'm still doing freelance piloting as a relief pilot in Ras Al Khaimah ports and Jebel Ali ports as required. So my point for this is that basically, because I have a passion for piloting and ship handling, so people who are considering, panel members or the members who are attending this webinar, who are considering pilotage as one of the show jobs, I would welcome them and encourage them, but one must have a passion for piloting. It's not such an easy thing as one says, and it demands it's a very dynamic role, and unlike sitting in office, you really got to climb on board ships, and you got to be really fit. So I'm still fit, and I'm still able to climb on board ships, and at the age of 74. So I think being a pilot has helped me to maintain good health and continue my job here. So I hope to continue for a couple of years more in Dubai. And now coming to the point of how one can transition from sailing master to show job as a pilot in India. Now, the thing is that in port trust ports, like Mumbai Port, Cochin Port Trust, and this Paradeep, there the cutoff age for selecting a person as a pilot is 35. So one must transition before that and be selected as a pilot. You're trained as a pilot. And then after that, once you get a license as a pilot, so you can pilot your license for that particular port. Now, when you transition to another port, you're already a licensed pilot, but you familiarize in that particular port to see all the berth configurations and the approaches to the port and what are the facilities. And eventually you become a licensed pilot for that particular port. Now, in fact, as I said, that modestly, I will claim, that after I transitioned as a first Indian pilot in Dubai, I paved the way for more Indian pilots to join. And right now, I'm happy to say that we have more than 15 Indian pilots working in Jebel Ali and Dubai Dry Docks and other places. And they're doing pretty well. And they're quite happy with that. The thing is that, so one in Dubai, as you know, that one cannot transition here as a pilot and be trained here. One has to be a licensed pilot with a large vessel experience from Ashore. So the only thing I can tell people who are transitioning as a pilot, considering to transition a pilot in Indian ports, is to either join one of these port trust ports, get trained and get experience as a licensed pilot, and then maybe transition to other ports like Gulf ports, where of course the opportunities are better and remunerations are better. And but then apart from that, people who are over 35 can also join as a pilot, because Adani ports do take pilots who are more than 35 and up to 40 years, train them as pilots, and you work in Adani ports. And then there's also a private company in India called Ocean Sparkle. Now, these people actually, they provide marine services to various Indian ports like tug masters and pilots, So people could also join there.
They've been
So
taken
that's
by
about,
Adani now.
Yeah, that's about briefly what I can say, that because I had a passion for pilotage, so it does require, or it is quite, it can become quite challenging, especially as the ships become bigger and conditions are, especially in rough weather conditions, it is quite what you call challenging. But then one, if you have the passion and go for it, so I would. That's about all I could say from my experience. And I personally, as a marine pilot with more than 30 years experience ashore, I would definitely recommend who is interested. But apart from that, and another thing I would like to share with you, Captain Gaurav and Captain Vikram, that whenever you pilot many ships, you go on board and you see a lot of Indian masters, VLCCs and container vessels. One of the first questions they ask is, how do I transition ashore? How do I get a shore job? So I have helped quite a few people to get a transition from Jovas, Dubai dry docks and Dubai pilots, and also as marine surveyors, and also as what do you call port captains and marine superintendents. So there are plenty of opportunities, not saying, especially in Dubai and in UAE and Gulf ports. So that's about all from my side. So thank you very much for the opportunity, Captain Gaurav. And incidentally, just about last month, Sea and Beyond offered me a job as a pilot in one of the Indian ports. I sent in my CV, but of course I don't put in my age in my date of birth. So my resume was very attractive to the client. But then after that, I think Disha or somebody asked me my age, or Beena or somebody. I said, this is my age, 27 May 1951, almost 74. So they said, no, the client is looking for somebody younger, who's 45. I said, okay, anyway, experience does count, but whatever it is. That's about it, sir. It's been a pleasure to be associated with Sea and Beyond. Really, sir. I find it very, very interesting, and I always, that's why, although it was not relevant for me to attend this webinar, because I'm already well settled ashore, but the thing I felt my inputs would be of use or helpful, informative to somebody in the panel.
No,
Thank you very much.
absolutely. Thank you so much for your insights, and it's really helpful. And I mean, the webinar has been going on for 2 years. You've patiently waited for that much of time. You've contributed in giving back your learning to the society, and I think that matters, right? That is what I mean. That's our goal, that we give back to the industry, and your insights really help us.
No, I always I go out of my way to help people, even from people who I don't know. They get. In fact, I have even as a matter of interest, I've also sent your email of this webinar to many of my colleagues or friends who are sailing, thinking that it will be of use to them.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's all. Thank you, Captain Vikram. It's been a pleasure, sir. So I look forward to coming and meeting you sometime in Mumbai. So.
Absolutely, sir. I think both of us will be very happy to.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. I'll just take a couple of polls in terms of the feedback and in terms of, is anyone looking for, do you think you guys need some support to plan your career? So I'll look for a couple of answers to the poll, and the closing remarks, I'll leave it to Anshul and Captain Vikram, Aditya to give some closing remarks before we end this webinar, please. So maybe Anshul, first from you. All right. Maybe Vikram, while he responds, if you could, summarize, you could have your closing remarks, please.
Sure. Thank you, Captain Gaurav. Yeah, so to summarize things, right? If you're planning to move ashore, and if you're sure, if you're certain that you would want to move ashore, right? Uh, uh, Please do it as soon as possible. Whenever there is no right time. Just decide and do it. Second, if you want to do particular, like typical shore jobs, Upskilling may not be required at that instant. You may just transition ashore, and Captain Gaurav's team in Sea and Beyond would definitely help you there. So that is the second part. But later on, of course, upskilling is always a good investment in yourself. So try to do that while you are in show job or while you are at sea, depending on what is your feasibility. Third is, I think, when when you've made up your mind, please do talk to consultants, talk to your family, that why, when, what, how, these things are important. So, and Captain Ravi, thank you so much for your inputs, because thank you so much, because you've added a lot much value to this webinar, and you've been very patient for these last 2 hours. So thank you so much. Thank you, Captain Gaurav. Thank you for having me here.
Pleasure is all ours. Thank you. We also have a senior master, Captain Praveen, also here with us. And would you like to, you've been here in the webinar, and I'm sure that you've already transitioned ashore, but you've been here. So maybe some insights from you in terms of how you've seen the industry, how you've seen, people transitioning, some insights from you, please.
A very, very good afternoon, probably greetings and thanks to Captain Gaurav, and probably you have that catching eye, to look in somebody's keeping a video on, while we have so many hidden people here. So you thought to actually bother Paveen. Anyway, I mean, just to add on to, and then I'm not the one to say any on the closing notes, but I would just say one thing: thankful to you. I mean, people do business, people do a lot of things, but having an entrepreneur like you with that sort of mindset, networking is something different. But what you provide to this marine fraternity, that's really good, sir. I mean, I do not know how much people really believe in the words, because I heard one of the podcasts where you said, like, while we are on a ship, we have an SMS, we have a process, we have everything black and white. When you get ashore, nothing is black and white, everything is gray. But that doesn't mean that we cannot learn and we cannot improve. So thanks to you, and thanks to all the gentlemen. I only have one word to say: if we have an attitude to work towards and an appetite to actually learn, we can achieve anything. Yes, there will be hurdles, there will be some or other hiccups in the life. As Captain Ravi said, destiny. We cannot control sometime, but we can always grow. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate that. And this is my final feedback poll for all of you. Were your expectations met? Was the session useful for you? And how would you rate the session? What I typically and I really look for is, if your expectations were not met, I'll be more than happy to improve, right? So we're looking for improvements over here, and please tell us how can we improve, and we come up with the next webinar in a much better manner then. Right, guys, thank you so much for your time. More than 2 hours the webinar went, and which shows that many 40 of us are here, which shows that it was probably useful to a few of you, and that's the whole purpose. That's the vision that I have through Sea and Beyond, and thanking Captain Vikram to support me, support Sea and Beyond, and others as well. And thanks for and all of you being here really motivates me personally to do more and more similar webinars to help you learn, help you grow as well. So thanks everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Gaurav. Pleasure was all mine. And to all other participants, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn if you would want to connect or discuss. I'm always available. Always happy to give back. Thank you.